What'll it be?
The barman greeted me as I walked into the bar.
Oh man, you won't believe the day I've had. And it's only 14 minutes past 3.
I told him you wouldn't believe the day I've had. It had been a pretty hectic day, somewhat extraordinary.
Somebody destroyed my car? Somebody destroyed my car! The museum was extremely dangerous. I will not be returning and I will be asking for a refund. This museum is dangerous. I just moved into town and the marketplace is a travesty. This marketplace is a travesty.
He didn't seem too interested in conversation, but he looked awfully familiar.
Has anyone ever told you look a bit like John Wick? Stranglehold is a movie tie-in game to a film called Hard Boiled, but it acts as a sequel 15 years later. It's presented by John Woo. He's known for making crazy action scenes. It's a third-person shooter with arcadey gameplay that focuses on style and over-the-top destruction. Guns have limited ammo but don't reload. It's one of the key components that contribute to this game being a bullet ballet. There is a lot of slow motion. Imagine if Max Payne had a child with Shenmue. Stranglehold gets compared to Max Payne because the bullet time. But that's funny considering that in 2001, when Max Payne was released, it was compared to John Woo films. But I would say it's more like Matrix if anything. It's not quite John Woo's Stranglehold, but Mission 1 has you running into a post office to beat up security. Fly kick! Fly kick! Fly kick! This is great! Okay, I love this game, it's a masterpiece! Hey, you over there fly kicking everyone, are you looking for your package? I heard Jerry's got it, and if you can give him a fly kick from me, that would be greatly appreciated. I've been wanting to level that fool for months. In Stranglehold, the slow motion is more about the bullet than the time, where Max Payne it's more about the time than the bullet. It might sound silly, but there is a difference. There is surprisingly a lot of mechanics and things you can do. It's not just a game where you slow motion dive, kill all the enemies and get through the rooms. It's literally a bullet ballet. You have to do ballet on the battlefield. The game will give you tips during loading screens, which is not uncommon during the days of Xbox 360, PS3 and before. But you can get access to these game tips and cycle through them, because they'll come in handy and there's a lot you can learn. The movement is very arcadey. If you were a big fan of Dreamcast, you'll understand exactly what I mean. The control of the character is extremely responsive. He doesn't have much momentum, it's all about 0 to 100% acceleration as fast as possible. And that's the motive to this game. 0 to 100, I just walked into town. Don't give me a hard time. It took a while for me to get comfortable with the camera because it felt a bit close. Like that one friend who doesn't understand boundaries. Their excuse is you had dust on your shoulder. No, you just like to touch people. Stop touching me, you're sick. I'm telling social media, you are cancelled, bro. No, it's not like that, I'm dead serious. You got dust on your shoulder. No, you have lust on your mind. You're cancelled. It would have been fine if all the gunfights were directly in front of you, but most happen in a 360 environment. And because the close camera at times, it felt really claustrophobic and vertigo was happening to me a lot. It might have also been a field of view thing. I could have turned down the acceleration on turning, it might have helped, I'm not too sure. It's not really a thing I felt on games before. Resident Evil 4 has a close camera. I've played other games where the camera is close, so I don't know what it is. But like I said, I did eventually adjust to this.
Today on Unluckiest Foo, episode 314, this idiot.
Can you move the camera back a bit? This is a violation. I've already had a bad day. I'm feeling suffocated. No, I mean strangled. There are a lot of obstacles all over the place in every single encounter. Your character has an auto slide feature, so when you walk close to anything hip height, he'll slide across. He'll be like Starsky and Hutch on a bonnet of a car. Just do that on a table. If the table's 10 meters long, it don't matter. He'll slow motion slide across that like a penguin on ice.
I was thinking it's very messy in here. Looks like a red wedding. Note to self, avoid weddings. Avoid the color red. Avoid the Noid. But then I said,
what the hell is going on in here? This is a museum, not a gymnasium. So the slow motion can be triggered automatically and manually. Manually with the press of the right bumper, and automatically this happens during slow motion dives or while you're interacting with an object. So if you press the left trigger, he'll do a dive. And if you do it in the open while no one's around, it's just a regular dive. But if you turn your crosshair towards someone, while they're in close proximity to your crosshair, the game will immediately trigger the slow motion. The same thing will happen if you're sliding across a table and then look at an enemy. When you clear an area or a phase of a fight, it will be indicated with a drum sound. It's a pretty useful feature that comes in handy when you've got special moves that you want to use.
That man has murdered
Okay, that is my signal. Time to go. Level 1 starts by saying, this is a rough neighborhood, so he dual wields his guns straight away. There are guns all over this place, so it really is a bad neighborhood, or the local arms dealer has butterfingers. I should have taken that intro comment a lot more serious. It's a game that's all about shooting, but the game keeps it very simple. There are a variety of weapons. There's dual pistols, shotgun, dual submachine guns, an assault rifle, dual golden pistols, even a rocket launcher and grenades. The golden guns, just like in GoldenEye, are one-hit KOs. Oh, I love these, but you don't get very many bullets. And the regular pistols have so much ammo, the game wants you to constantly shoot. It doesn't mess around. Like I said before, there's no reload. The game is telling you, hold that button. Combat is mainly shooting and diving, but you do have melee too. And oh my word, it's so overpowered. Not that I care, because I love being overpowered. There was this part where I was running up a bunch of staircases like in Metal Gear Solid 1, but instead of shooting at these enemies, I just punched them one by one. One of the guys even flew over the side, the punch was so strong. But I was a man on a mission, I didn't have time to mess around. There's a guy in the door. Oh god, ambush! In this dark, dark town, there's a dark, dark street. In this dark, dark street, there's some heavy, heavy rain, and I'm sure hoping someone doesn't ambush me. Oi mate, feeling lucky? The melee attack is a one-hit KO, but it does leave you vulnerable. You can also use your hands when ammo is empty, but it's not comprehensive at all. You'd think for a gun fu game they would have some kung fu in it, but it's just gun, leaving you to feel like a foo. The punch even looks really pathetic, but it's just as effective as the gun butt. Look at this part here where I 1-2 punched 4 people. Didn't even need to slow down. Standoff mode is incredible. I've never seen anything like this before. Sometimes you enter a new area and then a cutscene will play and enemies will put guns to your head. It cuts back and forth between Inspector Tequila and the enemies. And each time a new one of these guys' brothers pop up, you're like, whoa, are you a twin? You're a triplet, you're a quadruplet. There's the next tuplet of you guys. How many are there? You can't move your character in this moment, but the game goes in slow motion. You can dodge left and right like Little Mac from Punch-Out! And I've got a better comparison from a movie. It's more like Star Wars or something. No, I mean Max Payne. It took me a while to get used to this, but when you get the hang of it, it's so cool. One of the game tips, it says, you can use leaning to misdirect your enemies. The enemy is obviously trying to shoot you in this moment. So if you lean to the left, the bullets will go left. If you lean to the right, they'll probably try and get you from that side too. You only need to land one shot on them, it doesn't really matter where. You can also shoot the environment. If you see a light fixture above their head or a fire extinguisher to the side of them, just shoot that and it would explode on them. That's something you notice about this game, it's extremely creative. The game is all about getting as much style out of a gunfight as possible. See, I told you, it's a bullet ballet for a reason.
What we did at the beginning of this project when we found out we had this license is we actually brought the whole team in every day and watched all of John Woo's movies. And we just sort of, we sent out emails to each other and talked about what defined those movies, what were the cool aspects of those movies.
You'll notice that the variety of faces is very limited. They put most of the effort on the main guys in the game. The main bad guys, they look very good. All interesting faces. But these regular grunts, they might have been mass produced at your local Costco.
With Stefan Martiner coming into the company and using his techniques of photocomping to create textures within an environment, I thought, wow, what a great idea. What if we were to do that with the characters themselves and take all the features from a bunch of different people expressing exactly what we want that character to say or what personality we want that character to have, and merging them all together in Photoshop and making a completely original person.
Fighting these boss battles is without a doubt the hardest part of the game. You can't really go in guns blazing against them because they usually have heavy artillery. The first boss battle, the guy's got a rocket launcher, and this second boss, he looks like he's ready to be cancelled off the face of the earth. I really appreciate the extra effort they went through to make these characters look original. The techniques they used in the artwork is fascinating. The first 3 main boss battles you have, excluding the rocket launcher guy, are 3 of the most interesting looking characters I've ever seen. They're basically just henchmen. These are not the main bad guys. But I really like the fact that these right-hand men stand out more than the main guys. Inspector Tequila has this thing called the Tequila Bomb Gauge. And it's not what you think. The gauge has 4 different options that unlock throughout the different stages early on in the game. The first option is a heal. This is very self-explanatory. It will heal back a portion of your health. It doesn't do very much. If you want a full heal, you're better off going to one of the medipacks on a wall throughout the stages. The second option is the precision aim. This one is so cool. Time will slow down and you can do a precision shot on the enemies. Barrage is third. This pretty much turns the game into Contra for about 10 seconds. The fourth one is spin attack. Again, it turns the game into Swan Lake. There's literally white birds flying around you. I'm not sure what the symbolism is with the white birds, but they're all over the place. What is this guy, dead and in heaven? I have no idea. Maybe he's David Blaine. Oh, I love David Blaine. Did you see him on Hot Ones? This man is not normal.
Hot food, then into the mouth. Nice.
Something that is shown off by Precision is the gruesomeness of this game. It is bloody, it's visceral, and it doesn't hold no punches. With Precision Shot, you'll see every detail up close and personal caused by bullet damage. You'll see the fear on people's faces that the inevitable shot from tequila is coming, and they'll have a reaction when you shoot them in the eyeball like you just threw a shot of tequila in their retina. It's absolute insanity. The graphics to the game are fine. They're what you'd expect for an early PS3, Xbox 360 game. This was even on Windows, but you know what I mean. It looks best when most damage has happened on screen. The more the madness, the more the better it looks, more times than it doesn't look. You can see exactly what I mean. When you're shooting tables, breaking things around you are exploding, and there's debris all over. That's when it shows off what this game is really capable of visually. And you get to see this concept from the title screen. The way it shatters to show tequila dodging bullets in slow motion like it's nothing. What's on the menu today at this restaurant? What? A whole lot of icon and plenty of style. And when you choose the different options on the main menu, you'll see different things. It's all frozen in time in this bar shootout. The game is all about presentation. The more you look, the more you'll see the developers try to recreate the gun fu art style with all the focus on the bullets. The complete path of the bullet is designed so well. The sound of the shot, the trail it makes in bullet time, the impact it makes on the surface, the particles that break off from this impact, the additional sounds that are made when the bullet hits, the reaction from the environment to the shot, whether it's an exploding barrel or sign, people's reaction to being shot or someone else shooting, and the decision to not have the reload is genius because it keeps you constantly in flow state. Environmental damage happens with every single shot. Pillars and walls will chip, fuel barrels will explode, water barrels will leak and empty out. No matter what the surface is, whether you're shooting a bed and feathers pop out, wood chippings from telephone poles, a shack made of planks will crumble like a house of cards.
Because we knew we wanted to make a game that takes advantage of destruction, the choices of not only the location that I had to choose from the start, but also the kind of object that would be in his location was extremely important.
It's not like every object has got one or two break patterns that they follow. It's if you shoot a pillar, then wherever the bullet hits, a chunk of plaster is going to pop out at that point.
To go with this nonchalant environmental damage like it's nothing, you'll get end of level stats. Damage to world will make you laugh, it's always in the millions. They didn't need to add this detail in here, it's just to make you feel bad, but you are an inspector after all, you have to follow the law. Well, I wouldn't really say it's you following the law, but let's just keep that one on the hush hush. There's so much over-the-top extravagance and explosions, causing as much damage and mayhem whenever possible. Any means necessary to get the job done, and it's just so much fun. It's over the top and it works. It's nearly parody, but I really don't think it is trying to be. What this game doesn't have in graphics, it makes up for in details. And it's not just small details, it's content too. You can unlock additional dev diary stuff at the unlock shop. But if you have the collector's edition of the game, you'll get a bonus CD, and there is tons of additional content along with things that got left on the cutting room floor. The things I really liked about this game is the fact that the slow motion is called Tequila Time, and the guy's name is Tequila. What, is this some sort of reference to the fact that when you drink alcohol, everything slows down? I don't know.
Welcome back.
I decided to make my way back to the bar for a drink. A lot was happening too fast. I needed to slow down.
Tequila Bomb is probably a reference to a drink. You do see the guy drink at the bar one time, so maybe that's what he had.
Tequila?
The way I like it.
You are the only one who does.
In the unlock shop, there's an empty bottle of tequila, so clearly my guy is a drunken master. The pause menu is his police identification. It's like he's throwing it on the table to say, here, I'm taking a break. The briefing of the current mission is located on his old flip phone. I mean, at the time it wasn't an old flip phone, but it is now. Why did Microsoft update that to have it as a new Microsoft phone? You know they were really trying to sell that Zune.
The Zune, the biggest mystery since the Loch Ness. And Bigfoot, of course. I heard it was a worldwide Mandela effect and never existed. The truth is out there. but I've got bigger fish to find.
How you refill your tequila bomb gauge is you get style points from kills. You can chain the kills and do combos. This means interact with as many objects as fast as possible and keep connecting kills before the stars go away. It's a game that wants you to stay on your feet and keep doing as much damage as quick as possible as fast as you can. It doesn't care much for cover, they just want you to be as flashy as possible and do as much parkour like you work for the office.
The Tequila Bomb Meter is a really cool device that the design team came up with to encourage the player to play in a way that's consistent with John Woo's direction style. For example, if the player jumps on a banister and in slow motion, wastes 2 or 3 guys as he's going down the staircase, he's going to get tequila meter points, and that's going to fill up. When that thing fills up completely, then he can do a tequila bomb and waste more guys. So it's kind of this reinforcing mechanism to encourage players to not just run and shoot guys like in most games, to really use the world for dynamic interactions, to really think about creative ways to take out the bad guys and then be rewarded for that.
How you chain combos is, for example, if you're doing a dive and you shoot as many enemies as you can, and then you quickly run to a table and while you're sliding you shoot a few more enemies, then after that you do another dive, shoot some enemies, then after the table slide you look up and you'll see a fixture, you shoot a few of those and let it fall on the enemy's head and get some more points like that. It's really cool how they've done this system. So the left trigger is the interact button. What this means is if you're in the open you'll do a dive, but if you're near an object it will interact with it. Sliding on tables is an automatic thing. You can slide down rails, run up rails and other things like dragons, slide on a food cart like a penguin on its belly, handrails you might see, also light fixtures you can swing along them like Donkey Kong. The reason there's so many things to interact with on the map is because the game wants you to connect your combos. It wants you to build your tequila bomb gauge as quickly as possible by getting as much style points as you can. And it clearly makes a point of saying cover is bad. For one, it's really hard to aim and get a good shot, and two, the pillars break away so fast you'll be thinking, are they made out of paper mache? The spin attack will defeat every enemy in the current vicinity, and it takes most of the gauge to use. It's best used in a pinch, or after you hear the drum sound, you know there's going to be a next phase, use it then. Alternatively to getting stars to build in your gauge, is finding these collectible origami cranes. The sound design on the combat is absolutely outstanding. But then we got the music and voiceover too. The OST is on point in terms of percussion. It comes in like those guys who drum on paint buckets and pen tapping on tables. But they've come together to encourage war between the authority and the streets. The inspectors and the inferiors. The precinct and the borough. The cops and the robbers. Okay, you get the point.
The reason we chose taiko drums was because they're big, massive drums, and they got a huge sound, and they're great for creating that high energy action type sound.
It really adds, I think, yet another nuance, yet another subtlety, which is the mark of Stranglehold's audio.
The intro theme song says, I bring the ruckus, but I'm also a monk when I need to be. That's why it's strangle, but also hold up. Let's hold up. Listen to this and you see what I mean. The way those melodies came in, whoa! And the credits OST, it's so good they made a dying cat sound like a violin played by an angel. The voiceovers were not the strongest point. The flashback with Tequila and his wife made me realize, oh, this gameplay is so good, it made me ignore the cutscenes. And when I did pay attention, I was like, this is like watching paint drying. Quick, give the empty bucket to the drummers. They'll make better use of it.
No. Of my father seeing us together. He warned us once.
Are you sorry you fell in love with me?
Never, but I'm frightened. It's not just the two of us anymore.
What are you saying?
We're going to have a child.
You're lying!
No. It's terrible. If my father finds out, he'll kill us all.
You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
Watching the bonus content about this game and seeing the concept art for the character designs, I'm not sure if they had to drop the graphics a bit to accommodate for the particle damage during gunfights and making the shootouts as fluid as possible. I don't remember seeing any choppy gameplay or frame rates constantly changing. It felt consistent throughout. The story didn't really catch my attention here, and I don't really have much to say about it. It's a conspiracy cop situation that you typically see in old 80s, 90s movies. The twist ending didn't even excite me much because it's something we've seen many times before. Unfortunately, the voice actors didn't bring it to life. I don't know why that was, but when you've recently played games like Homefront, Enslaved, and Metro 2033, it takes a lot more to impress. This game was released before all of those, so I give it a pass, and a lot of games were still trying to find their way with how to work with the technologies going forward. When it came to the voice acting, I thought maybe the characters didn't excite them or it didn't challenge them. And then when I was looking through the bonus content, I saw the guy who was in The Mummy. No, not Brendan Fraser, the other guy. And there's something you can't help but notice here. These guys are just reading lines, looking at a wall. I don't typically like to give negative feedback or bad criticism to people's work, especially when it comes to video games, because all these workers are just trying to do their part, trying to get paid, and you've got hundreds of people trying to come together to get a goal done. But look at the difference between Chow Yun-Fat and Brendan Fraser's best friend.
Where the hell are you? I'm just getting started. Let her go. Tigol, get down!
You are even dumber than I thought.
Yeah! I'm talking to a dead man.
I'll have to speak with Young about the company he keeps.
Arnold Vosloo is Damon Zakharov.
You're gonna regret crashing this party. You're out of your league, cop. You're not chasing street trash in Hong Kong now. Now I'm angry. Take him down. Kill him before he destroys another one.
He put his all into this performance. He knows this character. He knows the energy he needs to commit to it, and it shows. But unfortunately, the majority of the voice acting in this game just doesn't cut it. But obviously, these are early stage next generation games. You don't really expect of Last of Us levels of voice acting. You can't expect the best of the best. The game companies have now understood. Let's get professional, dedicated voice actors to do the parts. They fully understand the benefit of that now. And to contrast this with Andy Serkis from Enslaved, he's a well-renowned performance actor. Not to say Chow Yun-Fat and the rest are not, but you do see the difference you get when you find somebody who's dedicated their whole life to voice acting and character performances. Ultimately, it was the early stage of the next generation of gaming at the time, so I can't give them much of a hard time, as funny as it is. But the only thing they mastered in this game was the gameplay. That and the sound design.
Sound's role in a video game like Stranglehold is to support every nuance, from giving you an emotional feeling of music to the reality of the world, the breaking objects, the bullet impacts, the gunfire, the danger.
There's 7 chapters that go over different environments. They seem very consistent with where they would take place within the world. Missions are all quite simple. It's usually destroy something while shooting, then a cutscene plays. But one of my favourite parts in the whole game was in the 3rd chapter. You walk into a room and there's a band playing. They get startled and then you get into a confrontation. The bad guy tells the band, keep playing, no one told you to stop. Then they go from relaxing atmospheric soft jazz stuff to oh crud, Cuphead hardest boss battle music. Then you enter a standoff. It's such a perfect moment, directed so well. It's funny, it's over the top, and it takes that nearly parody style and pushes it to 11. This band is great. I could listen to them all day. But who is that guy over there with a machine gun? Nah, fam, I'm gone blood.
Who told you to stop playing?
You You then get a message on your flip phone that says, make sure at least one of these guys in the band survives. It reminds me of that mission from GoldenEye called Control, where you have to protect Natalia for minutes. It's nowhere near as hard, you just stand away from the band and they don't get hurt. All attention comes towards you. Something that I wish I had done before playing the game was watch the movie. Because after watching the movie, a lot of things add up. He's a musician, so it makes sense why he'd want to keep the band members safe. And he's a jazz musician, so it makes sense why there's a lot of jazz in the game.
There was a neat opportunity with Stranglehold in order to include jazz music, since it was such a part of Hard Boiled. And one of the ways we got to showcase that was in this lounge in the Mega.
He does the tequila bomb thing in the opening the same way you see in the game. The birds thing makes sense too because he's a bird boy. I thought they were just trying to force a theme by adding the origami cranes, but it makes sense with his bird obsession and the fact that there's origami cranes in the movie. The purpose they have in the movie is they're meant to represent when the gangster character kills someone, but in the game they give you the power to kill, so I'm not really sure if it's poetic or they really did try to force something. It's a sequel, so the different story makes a lot of sense. They've done a great job of replicating the action scenes and damage. That's a key component to what makes a Woo flick. The movie is extremely exhilarating, and when there's not an action scene, you can't wait until there is one. You're biding your time knowing that it's going to be an extremely big payoff. In the shootouts, there's no reloading. The shooting never ends. People have more guns than hands. I knew from the first scene this would be one of the best action movies I've ever seen, and it really was. I wasn't disappointed one bit. In the final action scene, there was a part that was one shot, and the characters get in the elevator at one point, and I just realized, oh, they ain't not cutting it. There's not a jump cut. There's no slowing down. They ain't playing around with us. It's such a beautifully shot movie with actors that give their all in every moment. If this didn't look like a 90s movie, you'd be thinking it was a movie that was made way later than it was. And the music had to be great, because the opening theme, it had the main guy playing in a jazz band, and it really didn't disappoint. If you have this game and you intend to play it, I would say 100% go watch the movie first. I'm really not into subtitled movies, but I did it here. I put everything down and was fully focused on watching this movie with the subtitles completely engrossed. And also after watching the movie I realised something. I wish the game just had subtitles and spoken Chinese. It would have made for a more authentic experience in relation to the movie. Normally I would prefer English speaking because that's what I'm used to, but the main focus in the movie was the action scenes, and they were so good that it didn't even matter to me that I had to read subtitles. The same would have applied here. The gameplay is so good I wouldn't mind having to read a bit of story here and there. Along with all the bonus content you get, there are trailers for two of their other games they were making at the time. One of them was Black Site Area 51, and the other was Wheelman starring Vin Diesel. That was another thing we lost at time, was them putting trailers of other games within the games, or demos. It was a nice trip down memory lane to see that. Even though I've got no personal attachment to either of these games, there was a time where people would get excited to see things like this. Now you just click on youtube.com/type in Wheelman Vin Diesel and laugh at him there. This is a game that has a lot of detail. And at the time they made a game that was based on a movie style that was fairly old, and a bit played out by other games that some might have said done it better. But slow motion diving never really gets old. John Woo was involved in the development, so it's not just using his name or someone else trying to cash in on a classic movie.
John was heavily involved early on in the story in defining all the key elements and the major plot elements and how the story progresses, even adding little things like humor into the storyline to really give it the flavor of what John Woo would put into a movie. He is basically directing the cinematic aspects of the game.
This is clearly a passion project. They wanted to make a fun game, and that's what they accomplished. It's ridiculous, extremely silly, but unbelievably fun.
What can I get you?
Here's a joke for you, barman. What does the private investigator say 46 minutes before happy hour? It's PI time. Did you get it? He touched his eyes after going to the toilet? It's a smart joke.